Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of the Football Fignuts podcast of Season 4. This is our first special episode of Season 4. My name is Craig.
My name is Britt.
And Britt, we're back for a special super secret episode, and we have some guests. First, we have Cinch.
Hello, it's me. I'm back. Thank you for having me.
Back again. Thank you for being here. And so now we all know that there's a contributor that kills our downloads. And this is a super secret episode, so maybe it won't really count. But Sean is here.
We didn't keep it secret from him. That was the problem.
Shh. Don't tell anybody I'm here.
Well, welcome Cinch to the show killer. Next time we have a secret episode, let's keep it secret from the show killer.
Oh,
you know why? Because you don't tell your friends to download it. Cinch goes to work. He's like, hey, guys, check out this podcast I was on last night. And all his buddies at the Postal Service download it and then listen to it on their route. You go to work and you tell no one. And I know that because you and I work in the same place.
I was going to say, you tell everybody. Why do I need to?
Because you were on it.
People are like... But somebody came up to me about a month ago and said, Britt, I've been listening to your podcast. I really like what you guys are doing. I'm like, great. You know, Sean's a contributor. And they went, really? I'm like, he was on last week. He was like, is that our Sean? And I'm like, yeah.
Nice.
Well, let's talk about some special topics. It's a special episode. We got some time to kill. I've got some topics. I want to ask your guys' opinion on some of the side topics that come up at the beginning of a season that don't always work their way into our roundtables or into our rankings episodes. So,
wait, hold on. Really, I'm gonna turn it to Kanye really quick. I'm gonna let you finish, but push.
Oh yeah, I forgot about beer.
that was my important topic to start with, right there. Yeah, because he forgot about the beer.
I forgot about beer because I'm still not drinking. All right, but let's go around the horn. Craig, what do you got?
So again, I am keeping it local. I have another beer by Aspatuck Brew Lab. This is Grey Matter. It is a Belgian-inspired ale. It's their Grisette.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
It's a 4.5%.
My wife loves that beer. It is
like
not a Brit beer.
It is not a Brit beer. It is not IPA-ish at all.
Nope. Cinch, what do you got?
I'm trying to find the name, the label. It's from New Park. Headband. Is that the name of it?
Oh, that's a good one. Headband's good. Headband is good. It's an IPA. I think you'll like it. You haven't tried this one yet, have you?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So he's going to open that up. While he's opening it up and trying it, Sean, what have you got?
I have Three Philosophers from Omegang Brewery in Cooperstown, New York. Yep, Omegang in Cooperstown, New York. 9.7%. It's a blend of quadruple ale and Crike ale with cherries, more fruit.
Ooh.
Jeez.
Cherries, eh? I'm intrigued.
Do you drink that beer with whipped cream and sprinkles, too?
Yeah, you got to put it on top. All right, Cinch, have you had a chance to try the Headband while we were chatting?
Tastes like beer.
There you go. But do you like it?
Yes, it's good.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
A strong, full taste.
It does. It does. All right, well, with beers in hand, let's move on to some topics we may have missed. I want to talk a little bit about zero RB theory. For those folks who don't know, I'm going to pull up zero RB theory's definition on my screen because I went away from it. Zero RB theory is a contrarian fantasy football draft strategy where you attempt to build an anti-fragile roster by waiting on the running back position. You target wide receivers and tight ends early, leaving running backs out. This way, you have there's a less chance that a major running back injury ends your fantasy season early. And we know running back injuries, particularly among those top guys, happen all the time. Dalvin Cook has had major injuries that have crushed seasons. Adrian Peterson had a knee injury that crushed the year I was in the Adam Kaplan Invitational. He was my number one pick. I was so excited to get him at the 7th pick, and then he died in like week 2. So there's this theory out there that your first 4 or 5 rounds, you focus on wide receivers and tight ends and build such a strong stable there that you can get away with having an RB that's only going to get you 5 or 6 points a week. going around the horn, let's start with Sean. Do you buy zero RB theory? Do you ever apply it?
I do not apply it. The closest I get is maybe I'll do two tight ends. Whoa. Two wide receivers. How much of that did I have?
Wow.
But there has to be
Strong cherries.
There has to be a running back, a high tier running back in there somewhere. Just because you can't be like, well, they're gonna get hurt, because you never know. Maybe your number one pick of a wide receiver gets hurt. I know running back getting hurt is more common, but you never know. And I will stick with the having at least one running back in that higher tier.
So before I move on to Cinch, in an average draft, and again, every draft is different, every league is different. In the first 5 rounds, is it safe to say you usually have at least 1 or 2 running backs by the end of round 5?
By round 5, I probably have 3, actually.
Okay. Cinch, zero RB theory. Do you buy it at all?
I don't. I didn't intentionally do it, but I had it forced upon me one draft where I liked a wide receiver and I liked a quarterback. And by the time it came around for my 3rd pick, there was no one good, but there were some good receivers. So I took another receiver, and I found out that if you have 2 or 3 really bad running backs that you got late in the draft, they give you nothing. And you just, I feel like same kind of idea with quarterbacks in fantasy. If you have a bad quarterback in fantasy and you're getting 12 points when the other guys are putting up 30s and 40s, it like loses you the game before the game even starts.
Interesting. Craig?
It's an interesting theory. I think for most leagues, it may not really work, especially in a snake draft. But if you've listened to this podcast before, our league is really unique in that we do keep one player every year, and we do have the kind of draft the way the NFL does it, so it rotates.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone, more often than not in our league, keeps a running back. So I think it could, if you draft well, it could work in our league, especially since we do PPR.
It could. I'm not a fan of the zero RB theory. I have yet to see it work, and that's the big thing. I mean, the people who know me know that one of my new passions is I'm playing Hearthstone Battlegrounds on Twitch. And
he is. I've watched
Battlegrounds.
it.
Yeah, Battlegrounds is all about finding methods that work in this kind. It's a digital card game, but it's methods that work. And I see a lot of guys log on and they're like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna own you with these dragons, but I'm not gonna buy any until turn 4. I'm gonna start with these little guys and I'm gonna build a giant dragon army." And they're the first people eliminated. It's an elimination style game. And I'm like, but your theory doesn't work. I need to see it work. If I don't see it work in Hearthstone, I don't do it. If I don't see it work in fantasy football, I don't do it. I have yet to see zero RB work in any of the leagues I've been in, and that's across multiple formats. So I'm not a big fan of it. It's very rare for me to get through round 5 without at least 2 running backs. I have never gotten through round 5 of a draft without at least 1 running back, ever.
So the only other caveat I'll add to this is that, again, know your draft. If you're doing a super flex or 2 QB or tight end premium, or you have 3 wide receivers or maybe even 4 other than just 2, those situations, you might want to look at quarterback, tight end, wide receiver much more in those earlier rounds than running back. So in those situations, maybe I could see the zero RB theory working, but in a standard or even a PPR with one tight end, 1 quarterback, then I would say zero RB is not a great strategy.
Okay, so moving on, my next question for the panel, I want you to tell me one NFL team that you have no interest in touching anybody on. And for me, I'm going to go straight for the Washington team, the football team from Washington. there's just nobody on there that interests me. But I want to hear from the panel. Is there an NFL team that you're like, I can't find a single guy on there that I want to draft this year? And we'll start with Cinch.
I would also say the football team. I would also, yes. Well, if you just say the football team, technically that's their name. I'm always on the line of thinking that the Jets are always going to underachieve. So that's just my AFC East bias. But the Jets haven't been a powerhouse on offense ever, so I don't know. I would stick with Washington, maybe Jacksonville.
Okay. Craig, what do you got?
Cleveland.
What team you're avoiding? Always with Cleveland. Always.
No, I am not getting on the Cleveland bus. Just no.
Why, Craig?
Just
Why?
stop it. Because this is what happens every year. Once again, this year, everyone's like, oh, look how good this guy's improved. Oh, these two guys are getting along. Wait till they lose 3 games, and all of a sudden, it's a dumpster fire again. No.
Well, breaking news, ESPN is reporting that the Mariners have refused to play the Padres tonight in a show of solidarity against the police shooting of Jacob Blake. The sports world continues to react to that whole thing. Wow. Oh, we could devote an entire episode to sports-related social justice topics, but you don't want me screaming on that rant. Let me trust me on that.
Can I just take 5 seconds to make some enemies?
Boy.
I would just like to say, come on, man, just go play the game. No one cares what you think. Go play the football game. Go play the baseball game. All right, I'm done.
See, but I do think people care what they think. I do. I think that a lot of these guys are big time. Their kids look up to them. Kids look up to LeBron. When the Lakers don't take the court tonight, I think that people do appreciate that and do see that. So that I'll disagree with you there. Now at the same time, I was not happy to hear I would not have any basketball at all as an option to watch tonight, but I see it.
It's just me being selfish, but
well, it is. I get that.
You know, I had a long day. I want to come home. I want to put the game on. I know there's stuff going on in the world. I need my release of sitting there and watching the game. That's all. It's my selfish thought.
I appreciate that. All right. So next topic on back to the football stuff after that quick side with the breaking news. Sleepers. I want to hear one sleeper from each of our contributor. Who's one guy that you're saying, and when I say sleeper, I mean 10th round or later in most formats. Somebody who you're just sitting there going, I think this guy will overperform and he could be a real breakout and really overperform his ADP this year. I want to start with Craig.
That's like, you mean like guys that are like really low on the...
I believe I said 10th round or lower.
10th round or lower, huh?
So outside, let's say outside the top 100 ADP. Give me somebody who's outside the top 100.
You know what? I'm going to go with a rookie for me.
Go for it.
It's going to be a rookie receiver. It's going to be Justin Jefferson. He is on the Vikings. He is basically Stephon Diggs' replacement. He had a phenomenal year. The last year, LSU won their championship last season. He's extremely talented, and I think he is the perfect person to take Diggs' place as like the deep ball threat.
Okay. Sean, what do you got for me?
Oof. Outside the top 100, huh? I mean, we could, I could go for wide receiver, Henry Ruggs, for running back, it could be my sleeper has now gone into the top 100 for running back, but someone like Antonio for the Washington football team though that no one wants to be a part of. It could be like a Gibson or who's the other one? Love, right? That's his name.
I asked for one, and you're stumbling through 3.
I'm sorry.
Can I have a name?
Pittman Jr. as well for Indianapolis.
So I asked for one name, and he gave me a 4th one. All right, Sidge, who'd you got for sleeper?
I'll continue with the rookies. Brandon Ayuk with San Francisco.
Ooh, I like that one.
With Deebo Samuel out for at least the first half of the year, here's a guy with speed and good hands, and if he follows through with the promise that they have for him, he could be special.
Okay. My answer is, and this, I don't know if how much of a sleeper this is, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. So if I need to give a second one, I will. It's Daniel Jones for me. He's going at ADP 121 right now. I've got a lot of faith that the Giants are going to take a big step forward. Now, still at 121, he's still going at QB 14. So you could make the argument, well, Britt, that's not really a sleeper then. And if that's the case,
he's a sleeper.
My
thought was more wide receiver or running back.
I didn't specify that, so that's fine. You can go where you want with it. We're free here. Darius Slayton is my one at wideout because I have faith that the Giants are going to be better this year. Are they going to be world shattering? Absolutely not. If they win 10 games, I'll be shocked. But I think offensively they're going to be better. So Daniel Jones is the one I'm putting a lot of faith in. I got to ask you guys. This is a quick hit. Very straightforward, quick hit. Draft day food. You can only have one. Buffalo wings or nachos. Sean.
Nachos.
Cinch.
I love being able to put the variety you can get on it. Oops, sorry.
Cinch. It's a quick hit. The answer is nachos. Move along.
Okay.
I'm going to quick hit audible. I'm going to throw in a good chicken pot pie because I had a little bit of a winning streak eating a chicken pot pie once. So I did it for about 8 weeks in a row. So that's my audible to that.
I wish you could see the look on my face. It is somewhere between stunned and confused.
Good movie. Wait.
Okay, so
you got to respect the winning streak.
Okay, Craig.
Mine would be buffalo wings. No question.
Buffalo wings. I'm gonna go nachos, and so nachos wins the vote 2-1 to 1. I guess somehow. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but okay. All right, now those who listen to our show on a regular basis know that we're big fans of DFS, and that when the season begins, DFS becomes a central focus. If you've listened before, you know that my rankings are almost always specific to DraftKings. But I want to hear from the panel. Do you prefer to play on DraftKings or FanDuel? Let's start with Craig.
For me, I would lean. It's not a big step this way, but I lean towards FanDuel because I've just had more luck in games with FanDuel.
And see, that's my answer is the exact opposite. I have one more on DraftKings than I have on FanDuel, and I do track that.
FanDuel is a little bit more difficult because their salaries are higher. So it is typically, so it's a little bit harder. So you can't match if you make a lineup on DraftKings, it's not going to work on FanDuel most of the time.
Sean, FanDuel or DraftKings?
Well, I have more success on DraftKings, and I'll go with that one. But I do like the fact that there's no kicker in FanDuel, because it's kind of like wasted money for my taste.
Fair enough. Cinch, I think you've only played on DraftKings.
Yes.
Have you ever given any thought to trying the FanDuel?
No. I mean, I don't do that much daily football betting, so I just get a little bit here and there just to get my feet wet, and I'm satisfied with DraftKings.
We will be doing the Football Fignuts podcast contributor challenge again this year, and I am open to whatever site we want to do it on. I've also just learned that another site, Monkey Knife Fight, and yes, that is a real site, Monkey Knife Fight, is now legal in our state and offers a lot of prop bet options. I'm thinking about maybe starting a pool or two on there.
The source would like the prop bets.
I think the source would. So let me pitch that to you guys right now. Would you rather have a weekly pool on DraftKings or a weekly prop bet pool on Monkey Knife Fight? Sean.
Why not both?
Fair enough. Cinch.
Pick one. I don't care which one. I'll go with it.
Great. Craig.
No one knows if the season's actually going to finish, so let's go with both.
Okay. So we'll talk to the source later about that, but we'll do one or the other. So next topic, a lot of people are getting ready to sit down and have their drafts probably this weekend when this episode hits or in the days leading up to the start of the season. I want to know from you guys, thinking 2020, thinking about the guys that are on the board and the drafts you've already done, where's your preferred draft position? Think a 12-team redraft, no keepers whatsoever, blank slate. Are you a guy who likes to pick in the first 4 and wait a long time for your second pick? Are you a guy who likes to pick later in the first round so you have 2 of the top 15 or 16 players? Or are you one of those guys who likes to sit dead in the middle because you just hate that rush and long period of time between? Where is your ideal spot to draft in a 12-team league? Let's start with Sean.
In a regular thing, I would definitely be the middle of the draft. So I would think about 5 or 6 or 7 would be ideal for me. And that's where I'd like to do this year specifically.
Yeah,
I don't mind that 5 spot. I know exactly who I would take in that 5 spot. Might not be everybody's consensus 5, but that would be my 5 spot. And I know what the first 4 are, obviously, so I'm comfortable with the 5.
Okay. Cinch, where do you like to draft?
I want to draft number 1 or 2.
Even though you got to wait like an hour.
You know what, though? If you're drafting 1 or 2, you're getting a guy that's, injuries can happen, but you're getting a guaranteed best player at his position. You're going to win that position battle every week kind of guy. If you get to 8 or 9 or 10, there's no given. You're drafting a guy that you think is pretty good and could be that guy, but also could be a bust.
Okay.
Yeah, I had Barkley last year, number 2. That didn't work out so well.
Okay.
I had McCaffrey, and it did work out.
Yeah, but didn't you draft like 4th, 5th, 6th?
No,
I don't even know.
You were 1 and I was 2.
Was it? Okay.
And I took McCaffrey.
Did I really?
I'm just saying I drafted him his rookie year. I'm just going to say that.
Okay, well, Craig, where would you like to draft this year?
Let's see. If it's our home league, I would.
I'm talking about a 12-team redraft.
Yeah, but is it his snake draft?
Yes.
I'm gonna go with the 12th pick so I can get the double.
Okay. So the reason I bring this up is because I got an email. I have the ACI draft next week, the ACI alumni draft, and they do their draft order an interesting way. They do a draft lottery where your name comes out of the barrel, and then you pick the spot you want to pick in. It's a 14-team draft, and my name came out second. So the guy who came out first immediately took pick number 1. So then the question became, where did I pick? And I picked pick number 2. I said I would rather have pick number 2 and 27 than go a little later because it was a 14-team draft. And so I'm right now just based off of ADP, and I have a feeling he's going to skip McCaffrey. I have a feeling McCaffrey's going to drop to 2 in this particular format, but that would leave me with Saquon Barkley and Leonard Fournette. So I don't know. I think they're going to run Leonard Fournette into the ground in a hard way, and I think that's going to be good
For
stats.
as long as his ankles can last.
But that leads me into our next topic too, which is
Greg.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Is McCaffrey the number 1 guy? Like, if you have the first pick, don't you have to take him? I feel
think
like
yes.
he's head and shoulders number 1.
I think it does depend on the format somewhat. I mean, there are certain super flex formats where I think you might not take McCaffrey 1. I don't know that he's a definitive number 1 in a standard.
Yeah, PPR definitely.
PPR, there's no question about it, but there are still standard leagues out there, so I'm not 100% sure yet, but that would be my take on it. I mean, I still have to take a look at the actual format for the ACI league. I have to double check the.
I'm going through a site right now, and standard or PPR, it's still McCaffrey.
I mean, like, I failed to bookmark where this league actually is. I'm trying to find. Gosh, I better find out where this where this league is actually taking place. I did register for it, but I can't remember.
The biggest increase decrease for standard to PPR would probably be Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, so someone like that, you can definitely change where they're drafted, but McCaffrey's just does everything. So even not getting the per catch point doesn't take away from his number one status.
Right. Okay, there it is. We're on Yahoo. I'm looking just to see what we do. We don't do. All right, this is not a super flex. It's a standard 3 wide receiver, 2 running back PPR league, but there's no like super flex or anything like that. So in that case, yeah, McCaffrey might go 1. I just have a feeling the guy who I know is picking first might not want McCaffrey, which is fine by me. If he doesn't want to touch that, that's fine. That is fine. So, okay, so that leads into my next pick, because I was talking about running Leonard Fournette into the ground, and that kind of plays into how many games are we going to get this year with all the stuff going on with the COVID situation. Do we think we're going to see a full season of football this year? Let's start with Cinch.
Recently I had been saying that I don't think we're going to get close. I think there'll be teams that play 12 games and 11 games. But, as time is going on, I'm being optimistic. I think teams are going to control it. I think if it pops up, it'll pop up in very small amounts. It'll be caught. I think the players are going to be responsible. I'm being optimistic. And I think, what? I think everybody will probably play a 16-game season.
Okay, Craig?
Yeah, seeing what we've seen from baseball, I do not think every team is going to play 16 games. I just don't. I think players, there's no way for the NFL to create like a bubble the way the NFL and the NHL have done it, and it's worked for them. So, you already got guys like sneaking people into their hotel rooms that, for whatever reason. And then you have people leaving, they're leaving to go see their family because they're sick with COVID. I don't know. I just don't think everyone's going to play a full 16 games, and I'm pessimistic that I don't know if the season's going to finish.
Sean?
I believe that they are going to finish. Come hell or high water, they will find a way to finish. Every team doing 16 games. If they have to delay and go into March, I think they would do it. I don't think that they're going to be satisfied with, if players if they have to play without players, guess what? Hey, next man up. I think that's what they're going to do. But if they do have to delay games, I think they will extend the season as far as they can in order to get this done. Too much money.
No,
okay, so
because really quick though, like teams can't even decide if they want fans in the stadiums or not. So now you have Miami who said they're going to allow 13,000 people in per game, and Florida is one of the top COVID states in the country. Like how is that going to work? It's not going to work.
Yeah. It's going to be tough. So then that leads into my next topic, which is, are you changing the way you drafted all this year based on the COVID restrictions? Are you looking at your fantasy teams differently in any way, shape, or form? Let's start with Craig.
I may look at trying to get more, I don't know, like backups, kind of like what Cinch said in the tight end and kicker episode. Maybe I do want 2 kickers, or maybe I do want that extra tight end, like just in case. But overall, other than that, I don't think it's going to affect my draft that much.
Okay, Sean?
Yeah, I'm going to go into it thinking that everything's going to be okay and hunky-dory, my rose-colored glasses, and draft the way I would normally draft. Most of the time, even with, I can pick up a kicker. I can pick up maybe I have another quarterback depending on who my number 1 quarterback is, but I can always pick up another kicker, So there's probably not going to be much difference.
Cinch, are you drafting differently because of COVID?
I'm going to be optimistic, but I'm also going to draft differently because I want to cover my bases. So I think it's a good idea where in the past maybe you would spread your roster by position. I think this year I want to maybe have I want to max out my running back and my receivers. And if that means I'm killing myself at tight end or kicker or defense or quarterback by not having a backup, it's like shooting myself in one foot to save the other foot. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I just feel like you need to have a backup everywhere. And maybe you don't want to have too many players from the same team because if one team gets hit and their week is canceled.
That is a good
So
point.
what? So you say no more
concern.
than 2 or 3 players from the same team?
Well, you know how sometimes you want to stack with your quarterback, your receiver, your running back all on the same team.
Right.
Well, if they get hit and now they're shut down for 2 weeks, now maybe your 2 or 3 of your best players just aren't going to be there for 2 or 3 weeks. That might kill your whole season.
That's
Yeah.
true.
The one thing I'm going to do differently this year is I am definitely personally being just a little bit more cautious with rookies. And that's just because they haven't had the preseason. So, where I might have put a rookie I might have looked at this one rookie in round 5. Maybe I'm waiting until round 6 or 7 and letting them fall a little bit more.
So wait, you're not drafting Hilaire?
I am. Hilaire might be a special case, but I'm not. There are people drafting Hilaire in the first round. I'm not touching Clyde Edwards-Hilaire in the first round.
You know what?
No way.
He's his average draft position, that means you won't get him.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that.
He's going in the first round.
I'm fine with that. Right now, his overall ADP is 17, which puts him in the second round, but that is way up. That is way up. It was 27 a month ago. So, yeah, he's been drafted in the first round. That's moving him up.
Yeah, and I have even heard 7,
ESPN has him at 7.
Yeah.
ESPN has him at 7. That's crazy to me. That is insane to me. So, yeah. So I might be waiting on the rookies a little bit. Now, that being said, second round, maybe I think about Hilaire. Third round, I'm absolutely thinking Hilaire, but I think Cinch is right. I don't think I see him.
They're not going to be there. No,
right.
Definitely not.
So we're almost to the end of our episode, believe it or not, our special episode. And I promised each contributor, in addition to their final thought, a 60-second rant. I want to hear one thing that you hate or would absolutely change about fantasy football in general. And I'm only allowing you 60 seconds because we all know that some of us, myself included, could go on a lot longer. But we're going to start with Sean. Sean, your 60-second clock starts now. One thing that you hate about fantasy football and would change.
Oh, I can't stand injuries, but there's nothing you can do to change that. I mean, injuries are going to happen. You could sit there and you could have the best draft, but I don't know. Fantasy football, you can't draft with your heart. You have to draft with your mind. It doesn't mean you take ADP strictly. You can't do that. But I can't stand injuries in fantasy football. But there's nothing I can do about it.
You still have 15 seconds if you want to.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, Cinch.
I love fantasy football. There's nothing I can change it.
Okay, Cinch.
Okay, here's what I hate. You take a guy like Mike Evans, and you take him maybe 4th or 5th overall because it's a few years ago and he's younger and has more promise. And he's going to be the guy. And he has one good week. And then he tweaks a hamstring and he's kind of, playing but not really playing. And he's giving you 6 points and 8 points. And then you start to think this guy's going to be a bust. Let me put him on the bench. And then he puts up a 38 and he's on your bench. And the guy you put in's another guy named Joe who puts up a 4. And, Julio Jones, he's another one. He's great. Who's not going to draft him in the first round? He's a top 10 pick. You go ahead and have him on your team. See him how he gets, he'll put up 3 great games, but maybe one of them is a week where, you were going to lose that game or win that game no matter what anyway. I just can't stand The boom or bust guys that just give you a couple of games that are great, and it raises their overall ranking and makes you think they're better than they really are when they aren't. And maybe in real football, that guy's a great player, but in fantasy, he's not that great of a player.
Time.
How am I
Guys,
doing
you
on
just
time?
can't quit.
You're over, but that's okay. That was a good point. That was a good point. Craig.
All right, so for me, I'm calling an audible like Cinch did with the chicken pot pie. So this actually has nothing to do with fantasy football. This has to do with video game football. So yeah, as everyone knows, I'm not a fan of the Madden series and EA, but whatever. So every year, they pick a different player for their cover. Curse may or may not happen. I'm just saying Lamar Jackson already got hurt. But anyway, have you seen the cover of this? As someone who has a degree in graphic design, the cover of Madden 21 is awful. It is random pictures of Lamar Jackson in squares over each other. What the hell is that? What is that? If someone handed that in as a project when I was in college, they would have gotten an F. Because this looks like an intern took a bunch of pictures of Lamar and put them on top of each other with random writing in the corner. It's awful.
You
It
don't
is
like
god
collages?
awful. The end.
Time.
What's wrong with the collage?
That's not even a collage. It's horrible. It actually hurts me.
And it's got a lot of what you would call in art circles negative space. There's a lot of just odd white spots.
I sent that
there's
picture
like
to two people who I know do design work, and their brain stopped. They're like, "What is that crap?"
Oh my God.
Well, yeah. I mean, you might want to call them some help. So, all right. So my 60 seconds are and I might not even take a full 60 seconds on it. My big complaint with fantasy football is how social media has been involved with it going in, and primarily with Twitter. From the time that Craig and I had to explain to someone that jumping out of a pool does not equal fantasy success
Oh, come
or
on.
full recovery from an injury, from that point forward, people just feel like everyone feels like they're an expert. We used to play I used to officiate softball, and when I did, one of the umpires used to say, you have to understand, these guys have in their head that if they weren't playing here, they'd be playing for the Yankees today. And that's how I feel like Twitter users are. The responses and the lack of the jump to "you're insane, you're the worst person ever" instead of "I disagree with your point" has really kind of bothered me about fantasy football. So if I could abolish anything, I would blow Twitter up off the face of the earth. So that's my 60 seconds on what I would change about fantasy football. I would outlaw Twitter, but that's just me. I'm not against free speech. I'm against people who can't be civil. Let's put it that way. So, all right, one more topic and then quick final thoughts. Really quick final thoughts. Really quick from each contributor. How do you approach the waiver wire? Is the waiver wire an essential thing you have to do every week, or is it something you only do when you have an injury or somebody out? Cinch.
You always have to look to improve your team. Waiver wire in week 1 through 4 is essentially part of the draft, because there should be 2 or 3 guys on your roster that you drafted that you could easily swap out with someone else, could be a little bit, or off to a good start. Aside from guys like Antonio Brown who pop up and you've got to have them, really for me it's the beginning part of the season.
Okay. Craig.
So for me, you definitely, I check it every week because people get hurt, so all of a sudden their backups are the number one receiver or running back on teams. So even it's not even a situation where you're trying to hoard people, but you have to look think 2 or 3 weeks down the road, my current number one running back has only gotten me 80 yards and 1 touchdown in 3 games. Might be time to look for someone else, So I look at it.
Absolutely. Sean, weekly or only when needed?
Definitely weekly. You have to look at it weekly. The only thing I would caution is sometimes you get a little too anxious and you drop a guy that maybe you had as a higher pick, and and pick up this guy on the waiver wire, caution against that because, those higher guys, obviously they're going to be, maybe they had a slump. But back end, you can afford to maybe drop a guy, pick up another guy. But definitely weekly waiver wire. I've heard it a million times. Waiver wire is how you win championships. So I definitely agree with that.
I feel that way too. Guys, we are really very much out of time. Quick hit final thoughts. Each of us can take about 30 seconds. There's not a lot of time left on the clock. Just really quick across the board. Sean, what's the last thing you want to say to our guys before the season starts?
I would say, if there's a guy that you really like, don't be afraid to draft him above the ADP. Don't go just by ADP. You can't do that. I mean, you might as well auto pick. Definitely pick guys that you like, but don't overreach. Don't go 3 rounds ahead of time to pick your guy. Go, but definitely pick based on what you know of your league, your scoring, and how and what you want.
Okay, cool. Cinch.
I feel is just let your draft come to you. If you're drafting, I have to get this guy. You're probably going to reach for him. You're probably going to end up hurting yourself. So just you have a rough idea of what you want, but if the board isn't letting you do that, you have to be flexible and go with what's being given to you. And that's just the way it goes. And if you bad pick, if you're late in the draft, you just got to roll with it.
Absolutely. Craig, final thought.
Final thought for me would be, prepare for the season like it's going to happen, like Cinch and Sean both said. Like, everything's going to go according to plan, but be prepared for stoppage, for teams to not play, for guys to be out. And one thing that definitely, if your league involves money, definitely clear that up, like what happens if the season stops before you draft. That was it.
Right.
In high Deb.
Yep. Hi, Deb. My final thought, because we've got literally 30 seconds, my final thought is hi, Deb. And just to say thank you for everyone who's tuned in. We will have one more episode at our regularly scheduled time before the season starts, and then we will shift into DFS mode. So if you're interested in DFS and you'd like to hear some analysis based on that, please stick with us. Please leave us a review wherever you listen to us. I also want to thank Cinch and Sean. They've been with us for about 5 episodes now. Thank you, gentlemen.
Welcome.
And with that, I will sign off. My name is Britt.
I'm Craig.
And we are the Football Fignuts Podcast.